Have you ever found yourself waiting for life to change? Waiting, not just for a fleeting opportunity, but for that perfect golden moment? The one where everything finally aligns, the timing, the motivation, the circumstances, all working together like magic to push you forward? We tell ourselves that when that moment arrives, we'll take action, we'll leap at it, we'll make the change. But how long have you already waited for that moment? Days? Months? Maybe even years? Here's a truth that often gets overlooked. Life doesn't wait for you. It won't magically shift the gears unless you do. What if the real obstacle isn't the external world at all? What if the real barrier is something far closer to home, lurking inside you, your mindset, your fears, your inertia? Let me tell you a story that is timeless but as relevant as your own daily struggles. It's about a monk named Tan, known not for his wisdom or his discipline, but for his laziness. Imagine that a monk, a person dedicated to self-growth, who had fallen into the trap of avoiding effort. His days were filled with procrastination. He slept late, always pushing responsibilities to the next day. Chores? He avoided them. Meditation, the very heart of a monk's life? He skipped it. But here's the thing, he always believed he'd change tomorrow. Tomorrow, he told himself, I'll be better. But as you might have guessed, tomorrow never came, and neither did the change he dreamed of. This is the trap we all fall into, waiting, hoping, promising ourselves that tomorrow will do the hard work. But, my friend, tomorrow never arrives unless you make the decision today. One day, Tan's head monk had had enough of watching this wasted potential. He gave Tan a peculiar task, one that seemed simple on the surface but carried a profound lesson beneath it. The head monk told him, climb to the top of the mountain and wait for the first light of the sun. When you see it, come back to me. Now, Tan thought this task would be a piece of cake, no struggle, no hardship. All he had to do was stand there and watch the sun rise. I'll wait for the sun, and then I'll be done, he thought, dismissing the challenge. But here's the thing about easy tasks. They often reveal hard truths, the ones we're too busy or too lazy to face. Little did he know, this simple task would change everything for him. As Tan reached the peak of the mountain, the cold wind greeted him with a biting chill. His robes, thin and worn, did little to shield him from the freezing gusts. Standing at the summit, looking out over the horizon, he waited and waited. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The sun, so slow, seemed like it would never rise. Every second dragged on, testing his patience. The more he waited, the more restless he became, his mind filled with frustration. Why is it taking so long? Why can't I just get this over with, he thought, anger bubbling inside him. Isn't that what happens to all of us when we're eager for results but unwilling to endure the process? We crave the finish line without running the race, and it's in those moments, those long, difficult moments of waiting, that we realize how much our impatience holds us back. It was in this moment of deep frustration that Tan had a revelation, one that would change his life. The problem wasn't the sun or the task itself. The sun wasn't slow, time wasn't dragging. It was his own attitude, his own impatience, that made the waiting unbearable. The challenge wasn't in nature, but in himself. He realized that for so long, he had been blaming external circumstances for his lack of progress. He always thought, if only the timing were right, or if only I had more motivation, or if only the world would give me a sign. But in that moment, standing on the peak, waiting for the sun to rise, he saw the truth clearly. The only thing standing between him and change was his own laziness. Time hadn't changed. He needed to change. When Tan finally returned to the temple, he wasn't the same person. Not because the task had been difficult, but because he had finally understood one of life's most profound lessons. Change doesn't happen when we wait for it. Change happens the moment we decide to take action. It happens when we stop blaming time, circumstances, or even fate, and start looking within ourselves. Tan understood that his life had been stagnant not because the world was working against him, but because he had allowed his own laziness and fear to become his greatest barriers. He had spent so much time waiting for the perfect moment that he never realized. The perfect moment is created, not found. And isn't that the truth for all of us? Just like Tan, we all have our mountains to climb, are moments of realization. We often wait, convinced that the right opportunity will just fall into our laps. But the truth is, the only thing that stands between who we are today and who we could become is our mindset. Laziness isn't just about lying on a couch. Laziness is the excuses we make. It's the moments we waste scrolling mindlessly, the hours we spend avoiding discomfort, the potential we bury under layers of fear and procrastination. We wait for a tomorrow that never comes, when in reality, the only time we have is now. So, let me ask you this. How much longer will you wait? How many more days will you delay the change you know you're capable of making? Every day that passes is a day you could be living the life you dream of. Every excuse, every delay, every moment spent waiting for the right circumstances is a moment you're letting slip through your fingers. Your life doesn't start tomorrow. It starts right now. You don't need to wait for the sun to rise, you need to rise with it. Take action today. Stop waiting for life to change on its own. You have the power to change it.